The Cabinet has given high-speed rail the green signal.
To boost regional economies and reducing climate emissions.
20 minutes, or maybe more, off the journey time.
The presenter says he has launched legal action against the government.
Okay, let me show you something just here. Here in the UK, there's a 14-mile motorway due to be built. Now this 14-mile motorway is set to cost over £10 billion.
14 miles of road will see 7 hectares of woodland removed, whilst the entire 130-mile HS2 route will remove around 20 hectares of woodland, which is remarkable.
And by the way, that's Chris from Rail Focus. All sorts of modern videos about rail engineering, HS2. If that's your thing, go and subscribe. Link in the doobly-doo below. Big fan here. Now the local council, Foreground, well, they're not best pleased. They think this is only going to ease congestion for like 5 years.
We still feel that the Lower Thames crossing is not fit for purpose.
And it's going to add 6.6 million tonnes of CO2 to the atmosphere. So what exactly went wrong? Why did an electric railway fail so badly? You'll hear that HS2 is the single largest environmental threat to the UK at the moment. You'll hear that costs are spiralling out of control. Is it true, or are we being misled somewhat? Welcome to the story of Britain's failed railway. Okay, let's take a step back. This is an abandoned railway. You've probably worked it out by now. I love walking old lines, but there is one thing I'd rather do from here, which is actually catch a train. Come and take a look at this. Oh. Okay, this is Kingsworthy Halt. Absolutely gorgeous platform, still in situ, little shelter behind the camera. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, this is nowhere near HS2, this is on the Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway. But what if I told you that HS2 could actually help abandoned railways like this one open? Now your response might indeed be to think that I've gone completely mad. Well, that's because you've probably been fed one of the many mistruths about HS2, namely
20 minutes, or maybe more, off the journey time.
Hold on people, we're in for quite the ride. So this was set to be the UK's second high-speed railway, although that's not really the case because the first one went 60 miles under the sea to France. This was an opportunity to us to have our first high-speed railway that connected cities from the south to the north. So let me explain to you exactly how HS2 could, or maybe, just maybe, have helped this abandoned railway reopen. Picture the scene. You're on the London Underground and you're waiting for the next tube to come along. You look up to the board and you see it's only 3 minutes. And there's another 8 minutes later. You jump on and you stop, start, journey begins. This is the perfect model for your local mass transit system. Now expand that to a regional level or even larger on a national scale. And then add in local traffic, regional traffic, express traffic and freight. Well, pretty soon your stopper model has a bit of a problem. You see, because what's the point of an express train if there is no room for your local stopper to get out of the way?
The West Coast Main Line and New Streets, they're maxed out now. You're not going to get any more you might get, I think there's plans for maybe 1 or 2 more trains per hour once the Camp Hill lines, but again, that's just a temporary situation. But in terms of kind of getting local, regional and intercity trains into New Street, it's just maxed out, so we need that new infrastructure. Okay, so HS2 isn't about journey time, it's about capacity. So what about all the other stuff? Okay, another amazing bit of little infrastructure to show you just below the line that I'm on now. Now, in those early days, it's really important to remember that HS2 did nothing for their own PR. Someone could put out a huge piece of misinformation. I think there's some large organisations that really put out some facts that weren't true in any shape or form. HS2's response, absolutely nothing. They just got on with building a railway because that was exactly what they were there to do. Have a look at this absolutely gorgeous bridge just down here. Anti-groups had the monopoly really on information, and that's why so many of the myths that surround the project today kind of have stuck with us. According to HS2 Ltd, just
1 month's road vehicle CO2 is the equivalent of all the construction for HS2 Phase 1 and 120 years of operation. That's a huge saving. You know, if you can get people out of cars and out of planes into trains, then that's a monumental saving.
Right, I was going to do this as voiceover, but I'm mid-edit and I want you to have a look exactly what I'm having a look at now, so I've done a screen recording. Right, the big mustard line there, well that's HS2, the actual route of HS2, right next to this town called Wendover. There's the railway to the northeast of the HS2 already in place, and this here is the entire town of Wendover. Keep scrolling this way northeast and becomes this massive great field. Keep going, huge field there. Now this woodland here, which has incidentally been cut into by these big, I don't know what they are, maybe RAF buildings or something, cut into the woodlands. Well, this woodland is something they've used to suggest that HS2 will have an adverse effect on it. So that woodland there, over a mile away from HS2, over a town away from HS2, is one of the things they've said will be affected by HS2. And here's another one with a similar claim, only this time it's 2 miles away, over 2 miles away. And the last one, and this is really the headline for me, the absolute headline. Pause this and read it. 43 of the UK's 52,000 ancient woodlands are affected by HS2. But of those 43, 34 will remain untouched. That is staggering. I love this bridge, it's just brick strewn. It's almost like a tunnel under the first line that went that way, and then a little bit later in its life another section was built which joined up with another line just here. Won't go into detail, but it probably cost a fortune at the time. Now speaking of costs, the big claim is HS2 is burning a hole in everybody's pocket, you and I. The costs are spiralling out of control, etc. So how true is that? Well, to look at that, it's probably worth comparing it against other infrastructure projects, because I think that's where there is quite some misunderstanding.
I think the working figure at the minute for HS2 Phase 1, which is what we're building, what's been committed, is somewhere around the 50 billion mark. I think it compares reasonably with other projects. I think the Lower Thames crossing is at £700 million per mile, is something like that.
So really we're suggesting two things here. Number one, the cost of infrastructure these days in this country is absolutely huge, and when we talk about road building infrastructure, well, we don't really talk about road building infrastructure. It's just hidden away under the carpet. And secondly, that HS2 is actually very cheap at 100 billion for a 345 mile electric railway that was originally planned. In fact, that's really cheap, because let's not forget,
we say the £50 billion figure for HS2, but that does include things like stations, maintenance depots and trains as well, which a lot of people like to compare us to Europe or the rest of the world. And France in particular, they don't measure things like we do. So the railway is the line, that's how much the line costs. That's a separate figure to the stations, but with HS2 the figure is, it's all lumped in together.
Have a look at this article right here. It talks about how money is borrowed against growth for a project. So in other words, if the overall economic gain is greater than the cost, well then that means it's paid for itself. Now I don't know how true that is for cars as much as it is for railways. So I guess the question really is, what should we be investing our money in? Should we be investing it in roads, just another lane on another motorway to replicate one that's already there to ease congestion for just a few years, or maybe an electric railway? I think if I was PM, I think I'd know where I'd put my eggs. I don't think I'd get many votes for it because of this public perception. And then of course there's the benefit to the actual economy right now before a train has even left a station. Currently 27,000 people are employed by HS2. Could be tens of thousands more indirectly as well. So where exactly are we now? Because when this was originally planned, well, this was going to be something like a Southeast Asian bullet train, or maybe even the TGV system, a high-speed rail linking our major cities across the country. maybe even something to be a little bit proud of.
I am cancelling the rest of the HS2 project.
What a legacy to lead.
That goes beyond the life of any individual government and basically tear it up at a party conference.
Thank you, everyone.
Sunak saw this as a vote winner. It hasn't turned out to be like that. People are more worried about the cost of living crisis. They're worried about food, how much that costs. And really, in reality, HS2 isn't going to impact how much a loaf of bread costs or how much your gas and electricity costs.
So we now have a railway being built between London and Birmingham. It seems a quick one, but of all the benefits that I've suggested that this was originally intended to give us, we're now ironically left with the only one that it was never designed to do, which is to shave 15 to 20 minutes off of your journey. I really hope that what I've done in this video is give you a chance to look at some of the mistruths that were told about HS2 over the last decade and probably more. HS2 isn't the magic solution to all of our problems to get us out of the car and onto the railway. Perhaps it could have helped, but I also want to sort of let you understand some of the costs of infrastructure full stop these days, and certainly their road building infrastructure, and why you rarely hear about it. You may disagree, and that's completely fine. If you think HS2 wouldn't have solved any problems, well, let me know what you think would be the solution to help us all out in these troubled times. I've been Paul. If you enjoy this sort of content, click on the like button below. We'll see you this time next week.